Well, that's all we can take on the front pages of the papers on a Friday morning. It's super excited to be here, and we know that you are also joining us this morning. Let's go straight to our top stories as we begin. Zimbabwean President Emmerson Mnangagwa's visit to President Uhuru Kenyatta at the State House in Nairobi on Wednesday, March 9, 2022, yielded 7 bilateral MOUs on political and diplomatic consultations. The bilateral agreements are expected to boost investments and development in both countries.
The bilateral agreement, all memorandum of understanding, covered political and diplomatic consultations, tourism and wildlife conservation, and civil aircraft accidents, as well as serious incident investigations. Others were women empowerment and community development, youth affairs, cooperatives, sports, and recreation activities.
Well, President Kenyatta noted that his Zimbabwean counterpart's visit had not only renewed the two nations' friendship and brotherly ties, but also reinvigorated the strong historical relations that exist between the African states. The East African country president also called on the West to remove the more than 20-year sanctions in Zimbabwe. Well, joining us to talk more on this, we have economist Denford Mutashu. Thank you so much for being here, Denford. It's good to see you this morning. Now, Denford, what do these MOUs mean for Zimbabwe in the economic sense?
I think it is quite imperative and important that Africa increases and improves trading with each other, and intra-Africa trade is something that has been lagging behind. The great trick, focusing on the Europeans, the Asians, during and after the colonialism is something that has got to be revised. And we are seeing Africa coming back to its senses to realize that there is more that can be harnessed by trading with each other, amongst each other. And if you look at the caliber of the MOUs that we signed, if you look at even the political and diplomatic consultations, you have seen that there has been a history of issues around periods after elections or during elections. And I think it is in that spirit that if you look at the two countries, it will be imperative that those consultations may lead to finality in terms of engagements or of course assistance during and after of the elections. Remember, Zimbabwe and Kenya are actually preparing for elections soon, with Zimbabwe going on the 26th of March on a by-election, and of course 2023 next year going for the general elections, presidential and parliamentary elections. You also look at the cooperation in the field of tourism and wildlife conservation. The two countries share a lot of similarities in terms of the animals and the conservation histories that is found in those two geographical boundaries. And we have seen the increase in ecotourism, the increase in wildlife conservation, and also alongside that, we've seen also threats to that rise in wildlife and ecotourism through a lot of poaching. And the exchange of notes and ideas is actually set to, it may see training of our Zimbabweans as well as Kenyans, vice versa between the two countries, in order to improve conservation and of course wildlife protection. You have seen human wildlife conflicts in areas where the majority of people stay closer to the conservancies, and I think in that spirit we will see a lot of cooperation in ensuring that we defend the wildlife in both countries.
All right, now, Denford, now that you've answered that fundamental question, President Kenyatta has also joined other African presidents calling for the removal of the 20-year sanction by the U.S. on Zimbabwe. How will the removal of these sanctions really change the economic dynamics in the country?
If you recollect, ever since President His Excellency Mnangagwa came into power, he has focused himself and the country towards engagement and re-engagement with everyone, and he has actually indicated that Zimbabwe is friends to all and an enemy to none. And it is in the same spirit that there has been a lot of engagement that has been taking place within the COMESA, SADC, and the African Union, of which, of course, Kenya and Zimbabwe are actually members of COMESA as well as the African Union. So in the same spirit, it has been realized that the sanctions, the illegal sanctions that were imposed on Zimbabwe more than 2 decades ago, have had a direct negative bearing on the people of Zimbabwe, and hence there is a requirement to pull together efforts to ensure that we also engage the West in order for it to remove those illegal sanctions, because one, they are illegal and they are punitive, and also these have affected the general socio-economic and political environments in the country, and hence it is quite key to have His Excellency Kenyatta joining the clarion call for the removal of the sanctions. Looking at how big Kenya is in terms of the African economies, you are talking of Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, and of course ourselves, Zimbabwe, and many other countries. So I think it is in the same spirit that the Africans realize the necessity and essentiality to call and actually engage the West in order to make them realize that the illegal sanctions have caused untold suffering and economic destabilization in the country, and in that same vein, slowing down economic growth.
All right, 20 years and counting has gone down the drain, and some people believe that Zimbabwe has actually gone beyond those sanctions. But thank you so much for your insights, Economics Denford Mutashe.
Thank you.